Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, Street Fighter V fans. We have day number 2 of week number 3 going down to see the rest of the teams duke it out. Actually, we've been going little by little to see how these points accumulate, but I gotta say, very excited to see how these teams stack up for this week. My name is Vicious, here with St. Cola to break down all the action for you guys today, because we have some very, very exciting news to see which teams are going to make it off with those W's this week.
That's right. We are almost finishing up the first month of Street Fighter League Japan out here. You're watching it on the official English broadcast, as my man just said, getting closer and closer, working our way to see who's going to play those top spots as every one of these teams scrambles for the scraps. For every one of these points, you want as many points as possible to be in the top spot so you can qualify not only for the finale, but also have a chance at that last dance for the finals going up against US and EU later on in the year. But we have something different with this team tournament, right, Vicious?
Right, considering the teams that are going to be going off into the playoffs, right, we still have to get those points week after week. But just to kind of mention, we do have a brand new format for those that have not been around for last year, right? We have very similar rules with the addition of one extra rule. But to kind of break it down, we have 4 players on each team. 3 of those players are going to be taken up to play in those matches, right? It's going to be 10 points for the first round, 10 points for the second round, and 20 points for the third round as well. If ever comes a tie, if that ever happens, we do have a sudden death for 5 extra points. That's pretty much been the format the whole way through. We still have the home and away team to go through. And of course, when we get through to the playoffs, they have a chance to play off for that big prize pot of 8 million yen. A pretty good amount of change, if you ask me. 5 million yen for first place, 2 million yen for second place, as well as $1 million for third.
That's right, split up between the 4 players. That's quite a bit of guap on the dot right there, so you definitely want to get those higher positions, stay in the game as much as possible. But again, you know, you want to be the best team in Japan and in the world later on. But, you know, get ahead of myself a little bit with it. We're going to have the home and away squad coming through today. We have Saishunkan Seoul Kumoto going up against Team Itsuka. Team Itsuka, we talked about that first to one, that sudden death. We actually have to see that with the very first episode. That was one of the things that went down that was super sick to see. We'll see if they even get the chance to do that, or if they don't even need to, because their opponents are going to be super strong. That is Saishunkan Sokumoto, who is led by the big dog himself, Nemo, who just came out with a book recently, by the way. You know, I haven't got a chance to read it. I'm looking for Fugu to make the breakdowns with it a little bit. I saw him kind of skipping through, so it's always good to see these players give their knowledge to the world. And we saw Nemo, just like Daigo, drop a book on the people.
I'm glad you mentioned both of the teams that are going to be playing off this week, right? Proper, it's going to be Ikuza versus Kumamoto. One of the biggest things that I was looking forward to is seeing whether or not Storm Kubo is going to step up to the plate. It's been about 2 weeks where he's let both of his, or sorry, all of his other teammates play it off for the most part. You kind of, you may have missed like the pre-show, but they had talked about this as well. But let's get right into it. It's going to be the away team coming up first with Team Hiroshima. This is going to be pretty important to see. Again, we see Storm Kubo, the captain, the man who calls the returning Storm. And of course, Gunfight with the glittering personage with that Alex and Oro. As well as Crusher. Actually, no, that's Inaba. That's the Ikuza star. As well as Crusher. With, of course, the birdie classic pulling out the donut from out of nowhere with the quote, "See ya, cowards." That's pretty good, if you ask me.
He actually got the bite. That was so sick. He had the bite of the donut. That was super tight. The rest of that team, very strong team. You know, they did good. They were able to take it in the end with that first one situation. But let's see their opponents. Saishunkan Seoul Kumamoto coming up on the deck. The Brute King himself, Nemo, with that new patented Falk. We might see the Urian play today also as well. Right behind us, they find as a prodigy himself, Higuchi, with that wild style guile. Man, oh man, is he really good with that character? But also, Shuto still making Urian look super strong. The little devil himself. Last but not least, it's going to be the monk, YC Mochi. One of the strongest sims in the business, especially in the world, not just Japan.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of valid statements with Saishunkan Seoul Kumamoto, right? I feel like this is a super strong team. Obviously, you had a Capcom Cup contender through ways of Higuchi. Shuto as well, making it in World Warrior pretty convincingly, right? Getting week number 2 with that Urien. In fact, he's been the highlight of a lot of players. For example, Tokido had mentioned him being the ideal Urien. Then there's what else can really be said about the Captain Nemo? He's been switching it off between Urien as well as Falk lately, which has been super impressive. And then of course YHC Mochi, the absolute legend. The way he's been maneuvering Dalsim, the way that he's been piloting Dalsim, I should say specifically, has been quite inspiring, actually. I think he's been like the Dalsim pioneer for quite some time in just various iterations of Street Fighter, right?
Definitely do some work out here. But, you know, we see the away team going up. These picks are kind of different with. I mean, this team is kind of when you look at the other teams that have like Luke and maybe the more standardized characters, it's kind of great to see these players come up. You know, we have the Oro, the Alex, Storm Kubo finally coming up on the deck right there. Inaba leading the charge. We're gonna see who goes up against him. It looks like it's Shuto Urien up on the deck first, and as you mentioned, CPT qualifier, got that second World Warrior win right there. And from winner's side of all things with Urien, where people had kind of dropped that character, he just simply outplayed many of the other players and utilized the strengths of that character that are still there. B-trigger still there. Great buttons are still there that lead into damage. You know, didn't whiff the medium punch and crouch medium kick that would have got him in trouble, and just stayed really solid. I even saw a point where he baited out a V-ship with the EX dive or EX knees against Daigo, so he's ready and prepared to keep putting pain on people, and he's going to need everything possible because we talk about lab rats out here. Inaba is definitely one of those.
Yeah, he had mentioned it just right now, or right before he went up, right? He was getting that camera time, and he in fact was talking about using Urien, so he feels like he should know the character, the ins and outs of it, as well as being able to apply it to this matchup against Dictator, aka Bison in the States. But as it stands right now, I gotta ask you, man, Shuto has been on a pretty significant streak, I should say, like in regards to like how he's been streaming, he's been playing a lot. But overall in his record, it's a different kind of streak, right? He actually fell short so far. I mean, like what, 1 to 2 against Yamaguchi. So I guess you can't really call it a streak necessarily. It's been more of like a bumpy ride, right? After winning World Warrior, had to play up against Shinobiism Gaming, fell a little bit short. But with the expectations here between Shuto and Inaba, right? A lot of practice from both sides. They should know the matchup by now. What do you think? What do you think is the matchup like for like Urien and Bison? Because you play both these characters, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely played a lot more Bison these days than Urien because of the nerfs. But I do think that this matchup, where it was even before, has gotten worse for Urien. You know, those buttons being more whip punishable, the standing medium punch and crouch medium kick. You have to be very careful. Bison doesn't really get, you know, Oki off the light scissor kick anymore, so you don't really have to worry about some Oki positions. But when he knocks you down, when Bison knocks you down, it's even worse. Not having a reversal that Bison, you know, would have to worry about some of the sequences is really painful. So I think that Bison has the leverage. He has the advantage even more so than the neutral. I feel like his neutral was already pretty good in that matchup, and now it's getting even better in this season where Urien's buttons are a little bit worse. You know, there's still reward, but there's a little bit more risk with it. And not having a stronger V-trigger, a V-trigger that comes out a little slower, is going to be harder to punish Bison. However, if those hits do land, it's the same game plan. It's the same sort of damage that we've seen. In fact, maybe more so this season because he does have extra, you know, damage to some of the sequences and things like that. So it's not like it's going to be an impossible task for Shuto.
I don't think they changed any of the frame data in regards to Urien's normals, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they made it so that it was like more whiff punishable. I think the biggest, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought the biggest nerf that he had was against his headbutt, right?
EX headbutt is the biggest nerf, but I believe I may be mistaken, but standing medium punch I believe got more recovery frames, or maybe that was the season before. Zeno crouch medium kick got that added too as well prior to that season, but I'd have to make sure. But the EX headbutt though is definitely the name of the game in terms of not having reversal against a character that will put you on his back continuously, and already does well in the neutral. I mean, standing medium punch, standing heavy punch from Bison doesn't really have to commit to down forward fears. But then again, I do feel like Shuto does have some good elements in terms of being a Urien player overall. He had previously been one of the most defensive Uriens that we have seen thus far, even before the nerfs. He was using V-shift, V-break, V-reversal quite a bit with it, and he would manage his bar so well that he would sometimes even still have trigger in the previous Street Fighter League Japan. So I feel like with this more like Urien that kind of has to like maybe use his V-bar for more defense, he'll still be okay. I still feel like he's still going to be feeling okay. You know, maybe... Go on.
No, I was going to say, like, overall, I think you have the right idea, but I think... I want to say, like, I think Urien still has a pretty decent, like, advantage. Not like a super sizable advantage over Bison, but I think Urien still kind of like, wins this matchup. I think there's a lot to be said in regards to, like, the range that Urien presents against Bison, being able to whiff punish as well. I think one of the biggest things that really helps against the Bison matchup right now is just the mechanic of V-Shift. I think there's a lot to be said in regards to, like, not having to hold as many plus frames. Even if you don't have EX Headbutt, I think there's a lot to be said in regards to, like, having a comeback mechanic like Mirror. There's not a lot that Vega can do about that. Sorry, that Bison can do about that, per se. In regards to like what to do to counter against like the mirror and stuff, because I think Urien has a great time of like finding V gauge counter, the V reversal or V shift. But we're gonna see how it plays off. We see,
you know, I kind of like that idea of longer range,
absorbing the fireball.
You mentioned longer range. I do think the aerial approach also might play a part in this. Might have to get aerial with it. Bison has to get real predictive with his anti-airs, hell attack and crush fears.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest tools too, like one of the blatant tools. A very shallow kind of analysis on this, but I think, you know, scissor kick again, once you have a solid read or any sort of like movement against Bison, if you have a solid read, neutral jump just gets you so far, right? It eliminates the threat of like Psycho Axe or makes them rethink their Psycho Axe or even like a misplaced scissor kick. But look at this right now. Shuto advancing forward. That was actually well timed from Inaba. That's totally fine with him. And again, that actually crossed him up. Yo, that actually gave Inaba the worst end of the bargain.
Put himself in the corner, counter hit, gets the shoulder tackle right after. Didn't have a charge up after that medium. And the fadeaway again. Oh, back throw though. Inaba looking to activate off the slide. Was then a counter hit off that combo.
Yeah, that was a big deal too. I think Shuto had not been prepared for any of the strings that Inaba was presenting. I think there was that one gap where the Psycho Axe had come through. Had he let go of Mirror and gone for V-Shift, he would have had that, at least that opening to get a punish. It's a big opener, a big counter hit actually. Ugh.
That down forward Pierce, very fantastic right there. There's that aerial approach, but Inaba predictive with it. Slide, applied, looking for that on-block situation. Shuto has to be worried about this activation. There it is. That's part of the reason. And there's that V-shift. We talked about him utilizing the V-shift.
Yeah, that was a big punish coming in from Inaba. As soon as he saw the metallic sphere being held down, either way, it was going to be just fine for Inaba. Just one more touch. See Shuto in dire straits. EX tackle. Here it comes. He actually checked the movement. He was still in time to get the connection off of the low medium.
Great equalizer. B-shift, the trade, still in favor of Inaba, taking the win in the end. But I definitely still see the danger of that V-trigger. That was one more mix to do it and pressuring them in situations where they have to hold. They have to deal with. That's still a strong V-trigger, but still Inaba taking that victory with the trade.
Yeah, there were a couple of moments, a couple of shining moments that Shuto had against Inaba. He's gonna have to take like a back seat real quick and go to character selection. And I get it, I totally get it. I think there was a couple of sequences where he knows, like he's trying to wake himself up. You blatantly see it, like he's slapping himself in the face. I think there was a couple of moments where he knew he had at least a round against Inaba, especially on defense. I think there's a lot to be said in regards to how he didn't get to utilize his V gauge in round number 1, right?
Right. I also agree with the EX gauge. Maybe used the right way that maybe he wanted. We saw the start of like an EX knees coming through, but it was interrupted. I'd like to see that approach just to spice things up for the aerial approach. I do like the neutral jumps though. That's the 9, the slide. That's the 9, the activation, scissor kicks and things like that. But if you put those EX knees every so often in, just like you sprinkle those in for the mental stack, you're gonna catch Bison unaware. So that could also be a good entry point for him instead of just getting his dashes checked every so often. But we'll have to see what he has for his game plan, because this right now is game point for Inaba.
Going right into it again. Inaba had a very, I think there was a lot of information gathering for the most part in the way that Inaba was playing in round number 1, or sorry, game number 1. We'll see if it's going to be a more of an aggressive start. We see a big interruption instead from the side of Shuto. Inaba in the corner already, by the way.
Find his way out. That's not where you want to be if you're Bison. Slide. Definitely help out with that. I like that Shuto's getting preemptive with it. Does not want to get gripped up with that command grab. That bomb set up for the plus frames. Now for Fierce at the distance. Gets a crouch immediate kick, scissor kick. His way out the corner. Oh!
Yeah, you can see Shuto kind of wincing at the idea of getting command grab. Stun is going to be pretty much there if he gets the opening, and Inaba does more than enough damage. Actually, yeah, just no scaling involved. Boom, Psycho Blast, sending him off. Oh, I was going to say, I thought that was close enough to get into the bus fare for free.
Free ride right there. Inaba on set point doing a fantastic job. He's even catching Shuto leaving the corner. We saw him check the EX knees as an escape option. Good interruption, crouch, fierce combo. Yeah, doubling down with it with the ashy elbows on the corner carry once again. Wants to put him on that bus situation as much as possible. This time it's a free ride. One more sequence after this will do it.
Reset. Back throw's not going to be enough, and he covers the backdash instead. This guy, Shuto, he's got the option select on deck. He was totally prepared for that defensive maneuver from Inaba.
Oh, he took his turns back. Oh my gosh, that was minus, but still pressing the light right after is Shuto. Or knocked down. Puts it up with the double mediums in the Inferno sides, which I like that from Inaba. Not trying to be caught up in the corner as much as possible against his character.
For the Psycho Axe, Inaba pretty much on the aggressive now. Looking at match point. That's going to be a high punish. Oh, that's going to be a decent punish, I should say. This could have been close to stun. Shuto finds a way out. How are you going to do this? How are you going to get your trigger?
The slide. Fierce, but now it's time for Shuto. Can you find an opening? Locks it out. Oh, the back dash! That's how.
Actually, so smooth. Here comes plus frame in the mirror. Devil's reverse, and he tried to anti-air it. Shuto falls short 0-2. And again, I gotta say, I think the openings that Inaba had against Shuto were very, very fortunate. I think there were a couple of lucky timings where, you know, he caught with the EX or even with a scissor kick. That was actually extremely fortunate for Inaba. I will say, though, the defense on or against the mirror towards the end really helped him to get to that situation.
Yeah, I mean, really gotta look at also how Inaba was playing in terms of like chasing down Shuto, deleting his defensive options. You're trying to leave the corner, no go. Dash up, crouching medium punch on the recovery of the EX knees. That was starting to become a part of the toolkit of Shuto, and he countered it immediately. Immediately looking for these options. That is the lap rat. That is Inaba, showcasing what you can do with Bison. It's not always just about, you know, rush down and plus frames and things like that. It's about deleting the defensive options of the other player off the table in terms of just keeping down, like as soon as you see recovery, find a button and find the punish. Inaba with a very dominant victory. I want to say maybe not super dominant, but enough that, you know, you have to see how like strong he is in terms of just keeping people down to the ground, like chasing them down, not letting them leave. And right now you see the stats up on the board. In terms of the anti-airs, right here, it looks like there's none on the side. 2 jump-ins applied. We saw the neutral jump come from the side of Shuto. I like that option. Would love to see more in store, but kind of crossed himself up a little bit. I'm sorry, Inaba crossed himself up a little bit. And the text too as well, so they were holding a few throws. But I want to highlight again, Inaba just had great game plans in terms of, I know you cover like this if you try to leave the corner like this, and that just helps solidify my game plan and avoid being, you know, sapped away from health from a V-trigger activation.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said in regards to defense. I will say from Shuto's behalf, I think the only time he took damage from it, the only time he actually took significant damage was trying to like find ways to escape. But I will say again, I think there was a lot to be said in regards to his preparation for the matchup itself. I think there's a lot to be said in regards to how he was saving on to his gauge to utilize V-trigger rather than go for the trigger activation itself. Like instead, he could have gone for any sort of like V shift to stop certain scenarios of like guessing between a meaty or a command grab and take not as much damage when Inaba didn't have meter. So there are a couple of situations where you have to be mindful of whether or not to use that gauge, but as it stands for Shuto right now, he's gonna have to take a back seat. Is it gonna be the captain here to avenge his protege. It's going to be Nemo as Urien. He's actually picking Urien. He's trying to teach the youngins how it's done.
He said, leave them to me. Let me show you how to play this character this season. You know, I still love seeing him stick with the character. I know he's bounced around to a few characters, but I like the fact that he has added characters to his toolkit, not just taking away this Urien play that he's had for years upon years. Like, and I think that we've already seen the strengths of Urien from Shuto in the World Warrior tournaments. Maybe not here today. I mean, some parts of the play, like you still see what's strong about Urien. Feed trigger, the EX moves as well. If you manage your bar, you do have ways to challenge things. But this might be a difficult match. I'm not sure how this runs this season when you have Alex, you know, who has been buffed, who is more consistent. You know, he still presents some of the same problems. No 3-frame to really wake up, no real reversal. His anti-air crouch fierce is a little bit odd in a cross-up range, but his reward that he gets off his conversions, his reward, his damage, his command grabs having more reach, I think that really helps solidify that character and makes him more consistent.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest changes we talked about this week in, week out is how much more damage consistency you get off of openings, off of lights. I think what makes it so scary is that when Alex gets some of these conversions, it's not necessarily leading to a knockdown. It leads to a very favorable position of being within mid-range or close up, right? When you're doing any sort of combo into maybe like a flash chop, like even a light flash chop, that's going to be very dangerous for your opponent, right? You're going to get him a little bit panicky, and this is exactly where Alex players thrive. When you get somebody kind of antsy to move or just kind of super reluctant to block, you get to apply the mix, and it's going to be quite the mix when it comes to Alex, because we know the damage he can get. We've seen all the Twitter highlights. I feel like it's a worldwide phenomenon at this point where you actively avoid getting highlighted by Alex, but more often than not, the more you try to avoid it, the sooner it happens, right?
Could happen to you, could happen to anyone. Right now, Storm Kubo himself says it's a grudge game, kinda. He says, I have no time to look at Nemo. Gonna think of him as 10 points, so I'd like to win the 10 points. Just sees him as a prize, but Nemo himself says he wants to win this. For Storm Kubo, he feels something, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. So Nemo is also focused in a different sort of way, but Storm Kubo just sees the finish line right in front of him. But I still think it's gonna be a hard one. These two have played each other, I'm sure, quite a bit over the years. With the change to the patch, you can see something different with it. And if Nemo needs to be, he can switch to Funk. You know, if he's feeling like things are a little bit frisky, it is the first of two, so he has time to switch. Maybe detrimental, maybe it might be one of those things where you might want to keep the character or not. We'll have to see. But he does have other characters. Storm Kubo does have Abigail, but I like his switch over to G and to Alex overall in his roster.
Yeah, I think to kind of touch up on both topics, I think for the most part, most definitely Nemo has played with and against Storm Kubo in different circumstances, but I guess you know, he still has that affinity against grapplers, so he's always going to feel this kind of way against the likes of Storm Kubo, against Itabashi Zangief, etc. Anybody who touches a grappler character in the lifespan of their Street Fighter V career, Nemo has them on a dartboard. It's safe to say, it's safe to assume. But as it stands right now, I think he possesses two characters that could do pretty well against the grappler or brawler archetype. One of the biggest concerns is that both of those characters may not have the best options in regards to like their abate situations, whatever buttons they want to press, or even trying to do like EX uppercut as well, because neither of them really have that. Falk, it's not frame 1 EXDP, so that might be a problem. But I don't even know or even think it's going to be coming out. I think the Urien pick is going to suffice against Alex, and we're going to see whether or not he could avenge his protege.
Yeah, showing him how it's done with the Urien, and you know, maybe getting that extra boost for that anti-grappler sort of sense. But again, Storm Kubo trying to come through and get his W. I've like watched his content every so often, and I just see him cycling through various characters. So it's kind of great to see these top level players like be fresh in the game by just like playing different characters, and like even if you don't play against them in maybe like Street Fighter League or whatever TPT, just your understanding of Street Fighter is just enhanced by dabbling in the various characters. Like one of them recently was Zeku. So I like his idea of becoming a student of the game. You know, being sure to learn the ins and outs of everything, really get a feel of the game right there. If you haven't, make sure you check out his content. You know, I don't think they have translations or subtitles, but it's still a great watch, and it's really easily understandable. And it's great to see them making content and showcasing what they're doing for their training or their practice work just in the off time, you know, what they're doing just to chill out.
I haven't actually had the chance or the luxury to check out Storm Kubo. In fact, I've actually checked out a lot of Nemo recently. Even before we started, I was actually watching Mizuha navigate his way with Cody in the mean streets of ranked. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, there's been a lot of these players just consistently grinding it out. You could find them pretty much at the early hours of the day, or even just available to you on like YouTube as well as Twitch. Like these guys are always grinding. Right? I feel like even on Saturday, I think Tokido had started pretty early into the day. Like he started around like, I want to say like around like 9 to 10 p.m. Pacific. So that's pretty early or pretty decent for Japan actually. Either way, here we go. It's gonna be Nemo versus Storm Kubo, representing both Saishukan Sol Kumamoto as well as Team Ikuza.
This is how we begin to see the momentum. Dash up, EX power bomb. Heavy kick trying to find that crush, but still Nemo in the corner. EX knees, counter hit, crouch fierce corner carry. It's the shoulder attack, of course, for maximum amount. But we're looking for an activation.
That was actually granted from. Ooh. Yeah, actually, you made a valid point. I think that any sort of normal activation would have been absolutely huge. What's actually funny, I just realized it. I think Storm Kubo is technically playing off of Gunfight's account.
In the same house? What better way to share data between the two people? What a whip by the four fears. In the anti right there, perfectly spaced up in this place to get that anti-air. Yes, he's in, he's pressuring them into the corner.
It's actually kind of funny seeing both of these characters utilize their incoming EX. Like one has Violent Knee Drop, the other one has Stomps. Both lead to plus scenarios. It's actually very similar in that dynamic for both characters. Big interruption there as well.
Not so different.
Back
throw. Oh, you and I. Oh, you about to fly. You want to see a super? Yes, sir. Nemo using that bar real effectively, saving the CA for that in play and the V trigger 2 as well.
That's a pretty fast start, I gotta say. It's as if Nemo had never dropped the character. I mean, to be fair, Nemo is always gonna have Urien in his back pocket. That is without a doubt. That is his character. That is him, right? The Violent Emperor. He's literally named himself the Violent Emperor based off of like the archetypes of both like Urien and Gil, right? So I gotta say it was quite impressive. 2 rounds straight. One of the things I did like as well from Nemo, I would say his defense against the EX stomps from Alex, right? He had straight up blocked and guessed to see what it was that Storm Kubo wanted to follow with. Then the second time he took the risk, he's like, you know what, I'm going to backdash this knowing that Kubo would probably want to get something, maybe like a delayed normal or a throw. And he guessed correctly. He's been very on point with defense so far.
He's been flipping the coin right. And I like the fact that he'll back off just a bit, as you pointed out, especially at these sequences where Storm Kubo will get momentum. We started seeing Storm Kubo get momentum, trying to make a high fight clip with it. Wasn't able to actually seal it, and just back just up enough where he wasn't perfectly in the corner, but just enough where he was away and then wait for the play. Oh my gosh, the Dan pick from Storm Kubo.
I don't know, man. I'm be real honest with you. This is kind of rough. This is kind of rough. I don't get to see. I mean, we saw this not too long ago. Or I saw it on one of the World Warriors and one of the CPTs. But I gotta say, man, Dan is a character that we rarely get to see exhibited at this level.
It's gonna be difficult because you have the long range of Urien to keep this character out. See the buffer right there with the medium and the fireballs, and you're about to fall. The stun, post stun fun right here, and Dan is a strong character if you can get perfect, be perfect with the V skill. But even in the neutral is kind of bad, and now the jab lands. Nemo dominantly taking that.
Okay, get a big opener from the side of Storm Kubo, but doesn't lead to anything. All right, I mean, like he can throw in a bunch of these normals as well, get a cancel off of V skill too. Oh, but look at that! Even if he gets a hit, if he misses any parts of the execution, he gets punished.
Yeah, Picture perfect with this character. You don't add up a lot of damage. It's about being sticky up in the corner, but you've seen the good defense here from Nemo. Push to the corner. Oh, got the counter hit on the dash and that crouching light punch. Such a good opener for this character. But again, the damage, you have to keep racking it up.
There we go, he did just that. He racked up enough damage to get his first round on the board, by the way. Nemo still looking at match point. But I will say, there were a couple of sneaky instances where where Storm Kubo caught Nemo off guard. Had a hit confirmed from crouch. I think it was stand jab and crouch medium punch, and he was able to steal turns away by dashing up. I think it was actually stand jab to stand medium punch. I think it was a counter hit conversion, but either way. Speaking of counter hit conversions, look at this. Already into the corner.
Hold it back though, where you going? Batista Bomb waits and baits on the DP. A fantastic punch here from Nemo. Has a call up in the corner and has one more bar. Once he's crouch fierce, EX fireball or the V reversal. I like that Nemo's using the V bar for something different with it. He just needs one more hit. EX low with it. V reversal, he's out of there. Uh-oh. Gunfight, gotta be sticky with it. Oh, I'm not Gunfight. Storm Kubo on Gunfight's account.
Oh, the V-shift break. This is actually going to be so detrimental towards Dan. The fireball game is just that much better for Nemo. In his face, and then the big reaction. That was actually so slick. Storm Kubo, he couldn't believe it himself. He's like, he knows. You know what? He's going to react to a slow fireball. He'll take it.
You put that out, that's what it's about. Get that easy jump in. Storm Kubo playing that neutral pretty dang perfectly right there. And Nemo thinking about it. I'd like to see Nemo utilize more V-shift. I think it's his character, especially against the light kick, light band kick, or the light tatsu. We don't see much V-shift from a lot of players because it's unfamiliarity against the character. That starts coming through, that could be an easy punish. We'll have to see. Let's start right here from Storm Kubo.
I feel like Nemo should have a decent amount of matchup experience because I think, Storm Kubo is somebody who's played it against before. Moruto from last season also utilized his character a couple of times. Although he was benched majority of his games, there were still a decent amount of dans that were showing off. Oh my god! What are these hits from Nemo? How is he even getting these? That's actually pretty wild.
Dropped them all. Here was the chase out with the forward medium punch, of course, the twirl punch coming through, stocks up with the B skill. EX, one more. The follow-up, yes sir, with the short attack with a seal it. Nemo back on track to take it. We're on the set point actually for Nemo.
Well, that could have spelled disaster for Storm Kubo. Had he not recovered in time to block on that jump in, but either way, we're taking a look. Again, just dropping the V skill too. It's tough sometimes, man.
It is. It's kind of what you need to have. Build up that V bar so you can use Dan's V shift, V break, and stuff like that. He can build that V bar really quick. You have to be real good with the cancels. Yes. Now for the activation fireball. What? That's a combo. Gets a follow up off the Dan kicks.
Yeah, you
that's
get that
tight.
Ooh. Back throw, V-shift out of there, V-shift break, that is. Great life as well. Here comes the great equalizer. Second gear instead, setting up nice and slow. Oh, he missed his opportunity. That was counter hit for Nemo.
Just had a charge up. Loose with the EX. Won't take it back to the turn. V reversal right there. We're holding of this pressure. Your Storm right back in. Gets the counter hit. Was even a combo.
I don't know what's going on through Nemo's mind, but he is antsy. He is absolutely antsy. There's no way he should have got hit by that Dankukyok, but it's just what happens. Oh, very big counter hit in the quarrel. It's extended afterwards, violent knee drop, flying plus frames afterwards, slowly pushing Storm Kubo to the corner, and now still trying to feel him out. Slow kicks a couple of times over the medium kick activation. It's so powerful.
What a wake-up position here from Nemo. Gets the counter hit, still in the lead, and has EX bar to threaten that EX tackle. Also, the fireball stocks with the V skill. Just remember, get some V-bar built up with the quickness. Big jump in, gets fireball, mix, stays in front.
I don't know about all that, Chief. I genuinely don't know about all that. I think that decision to hold on to the fireball as long as possible with the V trigger just opened you up for failure. I'm gonna be quite blunt about it. I think there was a couple of gimmicks that Storm Kubo got away with, even in the round prior to that, right? He actually had a hit towards the end, right? Specifically, he had a counter hit normal that hit Nemo, and he actually had missed the link. Even you had time to link it or just cancel into the combo into EX Danku Kyak, and he missed those opportunities. Nemo just got hit by it. Like he just got blatantly hit by it. I immediately looked at the face cam. He couldn't believe it himself. He was like, man, that was a little sloppy on his behalf. And he knew it. He 100% knew it. But the best thing about it is Urien does pretty well still. So he was going to be fine regardless, I feel like.
And the damage differential is definitely in the favor of Urien. Having long normals to stop the character, also with the fireballs. And we didn't really see much of that V-bar usage as you typically see from another damn player like Moruto. V-shift, the V-break, and things like that, or like a cornerstone of using that character because you're building that up with the quickness. And we are going to go over the stats. Well, yeah. At the very end, nothing from him for the V-trigger. You even pointed that out at the very end. Nothing utilized. So
one bar.
There you go.
It's one bar. You can't, like, that's tough. It's either you spend it or you don't. Like, you can't even hold on to the rest of it. Like, you can't even have, like, multiple V gauges to help you out. Like, it's tough. That's a very, it's live by the sword, die by the sword kind of thing. But taking a look at the stats again, we have the anti-air department, 50% from the side of Storm Kubo, just about 20 from Nemo down below afterwards. EXDP, you know, Urien doesn't really have that anymore, unfortunately. But the grab throws, we did get to see that statistic. I think there's not a lot of throws that actually happen between both. I mean, just a handful of them. But for the most part, it wasn't super detrimental to, like, anybody's strategy, or at least defense. I think there was a couple of throws that both could have taken, but it wasn't, like, game-changing. As it stands right now, pretty much tied up. We're not going to get ourselves the sudden death scenario. It's 10 points apiece thus far for both Saishunkan Seoul Kumamoto versus Hiroshima team Ikuza. But we do know Gunfight's coming up next, and we do know for sure it's going to be the Oro.
Oro, of all things to come through. That character, when he pops V-trigger, it gets real scary. You know, you have to hold that pressure, especially when the V-bar. If you're reversing, could be dangerous too. You know, maybe outside of that, I wouldn't say like the strongest character. He's okay. He does okay. His anti-airs are really good. Like the damage that he gets in the corner carry off of, like even just a standing medium punch is fantastic without EX bar. But on ground normals, maybe not so strong. But someone like Gunfight's gonna be able to navigate that. We've seen him kind of get wild, sweeps every so often, kind of disrupt the rhythm of the neutral. So he's gonna have a game plan. If need be, he can't go to the Alex because it is a first of 3, best of 5 coming to the deck. But to fight him is going to be Higuchi, one of the best guys in the business, especially in terms of the game plan and how he operates and pilots his character.
I do want to know what it is about this matchup that Higuchi had to talk about in the pregame interview. I mean, I'd imagine he keeps it pretty humble and short, where he talks about, you know, I did my best to prepare for this matchup. But I do have to beg the question. I think Oros are pretty rare out in Japan. Like, what kind of training could he have had to prep for the Oro? Or is he going to just play a strong enough offensive strategy to kind of like drown out any anomalies in the matchup that he may not know about? But we do have the translation, the full translation from Higuchi, considering it is the anchor match, being ever so important. He does understand that the team has not won any of them yet. So he would like to win at least this one as the anchor. Very important, right? 20 points. It's going to be a lot more of a pressure situation than other matches involved, but it's still important regardless, you know, getting the W's as many points as you can.
And Higuchi, you know, he's been through pressure before. We've seen him, you know, work his way through the top, or, you know, fighting the top level players and things like that. So he's going to have a game plan. He talked about what you should do in a game like me, or when you're fighting a character that you don't have much practice in. I think the idea of just bulldogging them until you get your win is a fantastic idea. I do think that, like, You just need to worry about what's the strongest point of that character. And for Oro, that is V-Trigger. So you just need to worry about maybe forcing him to use V-Reverse situations where that may not become a problem, or if it does happen, you think it's going to happen, what's your defensive options? Where are your gaps? Can you hold throws? Sometimes you just have to hold that and it's the end of the round. Maybe have a bigger lead and maybe play a little bit more patiently, take a little bit less risk. And Higuchi's one of those types of players that knows how to scale back when need be. We've seen him take risks, take it back his turns after upside down kick, like he had plus frames, but he does know how to route it back. He's been a lot better about that. He's been a lot better about understanding the situations where he needs to pull back, and it catches people off their game so much that I think that's why I think he has one of the best templates of playing Guile. That's why I think he's one of the best in the business. So this will still be hard for Gunfight. I do think that Gunfight, you know, having two characters might also benefit him too as well. Having the Alex in the background, wherever that matchup may be, though, I do think that having two characters for Higuchi to worry about, even though it's probably more practice, and be still beneficial.
Yeah, I think having the Alex play might not be like, yeah, having Alex in the back pocket might not be as beneficial. I feel like there are certain phases of the game for Oro where he can actually set up a fireball war and potentially win it, considering it all depends on which V-skill it is as well. If he gets the Yagyo Dama, I think he's going to be able to and set up shop with like just regular fireball as well, but he'd have to be at a pretty significant distance away. I think it's based off of two conditions, right? I think it's whether or not he gets like a knockdown and is still able to set up from further distances. I think those are the two big conditions to kind of consider. That's what I've seen from the most part observing like Brian F. That's like he's the only Oro. I'm gonna be honest, he's the only Oro that I've seen.
Who else?
Other than Gunfight, those are the two, you know, brothers in arms. But again, we had talked about being able to bulldog your way to victory. I think, you know, just to retouch on that, Higuchi does it pretty well. All things considered, I think he's the only one on his team thus far that has a pretty decent streak. And yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's the only one winning on his team thus far in weeks 1 and 2. Right?
Let me check my notes here in a second because it's been a little bit with it. Go back to that in a second. We'll see if that zoning play even comes through.
I got the cliff notes. So as it is, Higuchi in week 1 won 2 games. In week number 2, he actually won 2-1 against Fujimura.
Ooh.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the only stats guy here. I just wanted to ask you.
Get into it. First of 3, long games right here. Let's see if that zoning play comes into play. Because Higuchi is a bit of a brawler. I feel like he's comfortable not just relying upon the fireballs, like say in the mid and close range, but upon the side switch with the chase down here. Ooh, everything was going his way until the air throw. Now Higuchi getting aggressive, and there it is. Stealing frames.
Oh my gosh. He's actually calling out Gunfight pretty well. This stun's gonna happen whether he likes it or not. That was a reversal from the side of Gunfight. He actually gave it away. He did not have the meter for it, and he opted out to reversal to nothing, actually. Whatever it is, it was going to get stuffed out. But, yeah, I think Higuchi being able to bulldog in the corner is super important. The chicken feed actually was just shy. We're catching this on a glue.
Shallow. Up on the anti-air. Nice spacing right there, knowing that anti-air was going to come through and find a punish. Using that hop, too, as well to put some variance in terms of the jumps. Oh, but if you whiff, you get hit with the crush.
Oh. And this is just the amount of control right now for Higuchi. I think Gunfight, his offense basically from the very beginning was on point. It was pretty much going a mile a minute to the point where Higuchi couldn't really keep up. But there were a couple of instances where, you know, Higuchi was able to steal the momentum. There was an upside down kick right into EX flash kick. That was one. Immediately baiting Gunfight to go for EX uppercut. That was number 2. And then 3, keeping it solid with meaties, knowing full well that Gunfight was out of resources. That was like the trifecta to cause Gunfight to crumble.
I think that's the case. I mean, you look at how he played that matchup too as well. Deleting that jump in situation, the hop that you can have with the various with Oro, immediately finding an answer, finding the back fist, immediately finding a crush and the follow-up. Like, he definitely looks like he is very prepared in this match. Like, and saying mid-range too as well. Mid to close range seems like his name of the game plan. Let's see if he sticks with Oro. I do think that, you know, the ideas are there, they just have to come through, and we haven't even seen the V-Trigger too as well.
Yeah, we're starting to see, I guess, Higuchi kind of outclassing Gunfight in a sense of not worrying about the mental stack as much, keeping his composure as well, and that is such a great trade-off. I love that awareness from Higuchi. He's not going to be spending time prepping for the Fireball War. I think the trade-off of walking in that space to get a sweep, this is actually going to be good. He does get the setup now. Gunfight is still plus after the Agiodama.
Shifts from the distance, but Gunfight's willing to block it out. Anti-air. There's the air-to-air. What you think? It's right back to the middle of the screen. Sweep, what a whip punish. Looking out for that heavy kick. We see that Zipperfight so many times from Gunfight. He was ready.
Into the Tengu Stone, the big V reversal, and it's so important. I don't know what that chicken wing was all about. I'm sorry, that chicken leg was all about.
Oh. Back throw though on the empty.
Prepared.
So the V reversal, that's gonna make the next boom, gonna do a lot of damage.
And the trade-off again, still walking within that space, trading off against the fireballs. That's 2 times over. Higuchi again, this time playing a different style. Instead of playing the Fireball War, again, him being within range to sweep as soon as he sees a fireball is such a better trade for Higuchi.
Then we see the zoning right here. Full screen, looks like it's hard and difficult to navigate. But again, if Higuchi can get that mid-range, be more than okay, but now caught up in the corner. It's the fierce, but no big deal.
All right, it's a punish.
Easy with punish.
Movement, still nothing, no confirm off the low medium kick. That would have been a big, a good time to use command grab.
The zoning. Be careful. Every so often could be these fireball. Then again, Higuchi with the dash in. Nice sweep with punish. And the throw. The fireball. Gunfight, or I'm sorry. Yeah, Gunfight actually had a fantastic lead.
We see again. Gunfight now pretty much in control, but Higuchi still trying to hold up his wave. There it is. Yep. EX flash kick. No, I think he could have been, if he had yelled forward, I think he would have been able to clear the booms and have the Tengu Stones follow up. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I don't know what that's about.
Offline.
I genuinely do not.
Not sure what the EXCP was from the distance, but the sweep reaction, as you called it before, against the fireballs in that distance, janitorial duties are definitely being done by Higuchi because he is making this look real clean. My God. Right back into it. Looks like it. Right or die with the character. Okay, with the crouching mini kick. But nothing off these crouching mini kicks. You pointed this out before. Nothing off the crouching mini kick. That could have been a little bit more of the EX Tatsu to set up for the V skill.
And again, Guile, I was going to say, like, he's pretty much designed to counter fireball characters. It's actually pretty wild that, you know, he's so versatile in using both of these kind of game plans as Higuchi. But now, we finally get to see a big start from Gunfight.
The throw. B shift goes for the break. Distance in Gray Life. Next EX Fireball is going to hurt. Spins it, but EX Fireball from the side of Gunfight. Now he's in the corner. Don't get opened up. Oh, the low. And this time the EX command grab to seal the deal. Gunfight not done yet.
Oh, that is a giant jump. You know what's funny? I think Higuchi might have been able to block on that one. I think he tried to anti-air. Was a counter it. Ooh, we find success in the anti-air. Or actually, the EX uppercut from the side of Gunfight.
This confirms we wanted to see. It's the zoning, going and flowing, V-skill up on the screen. Right at that medium punch or medium kick range. One of Oro's best buttons on the ground.
Oh, that was actually pretty interesting. That was such an awkward exchange, or at least meeting each other up in the air. Oof. Conversion off the light, and I do say big because now it leads Higuchi into setting up her fireballs, but still, if Gunfight has the space, he can outclass some of the sonic booms.
Hard to do when he's off in the corner. But gets hit with the activation boom. The baby boomers. Oh, the reason for the overhead for the challenge, knowing that that's fake. Gunfight.
I think Higuchi had thought he was on the same side. I think he thought he was on the same side, and he ended up getting overhead instead as he switched over.
Good reaction though from Gunfight to check that and put himself on the board finally. He's doing a really good job of keeping these like good round starts, like keeping the first part of the game in his favor so that when he does have B-trigger, he has help to play with, and Higuchi is the one lacking in terms of HP.
Set up fireballs, or at least a regular fireball. I thought he would go into like one possibly. Okay, now it's gonna be Gunfight spinning the meter. Yagyo Dama, here it comes. Oh, and he actually confirmed off of it. That was actually disgusting. He used the heavier kicks to get the extension on that. The 3-hitter to the Yagyo.
Now you see him looking for the whip or the activation off the sweep in that distance. Get in, getting the counter hit. This is an activated Gunfight. More consistent with the B reversal, blocks it out. Now the activation, you know what it's about. You have to hold this pressure right here. Guess for your life, flash kick.
And that's gonna be more than enough. Yeah, Higuchi baiting that out again from Gunfight, knowing full well that he is prone to doing EX uppercut on wake up. Yo, Higuchi has had it all figured out thus far.
And also be able to get an EX flash kick in the middle of that sequence of the V-trigger. Well, press, yo, just the anti-fireball pressure right here from Higuchi. So perfect, it makes it fall up to the V-skill fireball. Reversal. Bar building up. Higuchi got a full stock. That's the EX rock. Another one. Strike outside this corner. That's what we put in this corner, especially with V-trigger. Could be coming through real quick.
I love using that V-reversal on plus frame scenarios just to kind of kick back Gunfight. And it's totally worth it too. Okay, well, up until this point, too far to continue the call.
It's higher damage. DP. Yes, right after, but still, one good hit. The sequence, I should say, should seal it. It's chicken feet, yes sir, but blocks it out. Higuchi.
Oh, double V-shift break and the punish on that. That was so smart. Again and again. Higuchi calling out majority of Gunfight's EX uppercuts. With zero remorse, by the way. My man popped off immediately after. Put his hands up in the air. He's like, boom. I told you, I needed that anchor match, man. I needed you to give it to me, Gunfight, and that was exactly what he did. He gave it to him on a silver platter, Sankola.
And to him, signed, sealed, delivered right there. This is a big win for Higuchi. You see how dominant he was in that match, being able to navigate the fireballs, the setup of the shop. I definitely do think that Oro has the ability to set up a wall of fireballs, but it's perfect condition, and Higuchi just disallowed that. And also his defense. Not only did he delete the defense of Gunfight with the blocking of the DPs from Gunfight, but how he was able to navigate that V-trigger that is usually for robbery, usually that saps away the health at play, usually is the thing that is just the big pain point that you see against a character, avoiding those situations as much as possible and sealing it. Is Higuchi taking it for his team?
I'll be real honest with you, St. Cola. I think there was only one sequence where Gunfight had an opportunity to keep the block strings going with Tengu Stone. Other than that, Gunfight hasn't been able to utilize it well. I mean, like, he's been in moments where he had activated, he tried to react over to like a sonic boom by doing like chicken feet where he was short, couldn't do it. He had activated from further ranges and was still getting pressured away by sonic booms. He had done like an EX uppercut randomly from like 3/4 of the screen while having Tengu Stone. If you watch back that match, he did not. He didn't get to really play off the way he wanted to, right? I don't think there was a lot of situations where it tested Higuchi's defense against the Tengu Stone. I think overall, I thought it was very fortunate for Higuchi where he didn't even have to face off against it at all, really.
Lucky right there, Higuchi in the win. Gunfight, you know, we've already seen his oral work. It was the first one that was able to kind of do the damage. And I feel like in that first one, he did more damage with the oral, with the V-trigger, but not out here. It's going to be Higuchi moving on. And Higuchi actually says that he practiced against Oro. Glad you won the anchor match. Super happy to have won. So he definitely had some practice. We saw it in the match. We saw him, how he dealt with the hops, how he had situational awareness and punishes. You know, if I get the crush right here, if he hops back, I can get flash kick right here, or I get a punish right here. How he had the sweep against the fireballs before they could even come out. You know, he on reaction will get that sweep punish. Just fantastically played. So he did find a way to practice against this character that is way more rare we typically see.
Yeah, I think having those trades is like, I mean, that's something that's been ingrained in Dial players since like Street Fighter 2, right? I had mentioned this earlier before I got muted by accident. I had said that Guile is pretty much designed to counter fireball characters, right? Whether it be in the fireball war from like further out or whatever, especially with like V-skill and also just sonic boom in general, the way that it works. But his normals are designed to trade off against fireballs consistently and to output more damage, right? So he already utilized that. Like as good as he is in the fireball department, he's like, you know, we've got other branches in this here conglomerate. I think, you know, the whole Guile LLC with Higuchi, I think he's got it down pat. I think he's the complete package. There's a handful of players on this team that truly are the complete package, and Higuchi is definitely one of them, going undefeated thus far in all 3 weeks.
That is a fantastic start. And Shuto says Higuchi-san has helped me out. He wants to do better. Shuto also, you know, wants to do better himself. And YT Mochi says he was in the reserve and didn't get to play, but he cheered for his team to get the win, and very happy that they won. You know, it's so important for that last team member that's on the bench to be cheering for the squad, giving them support, maybe advice and things like that. That's still a big part of this. Even if they're not with hands on the sticks, they have ways to play in terms of, hey, you should do this, you should do that, you know, or just saying, you've got this, you know, giving them encouragement. And that's what's so different about Street Fighter Japan than the typical tournament is you have this team capability to buff you up. You're playing for your team, but you also have your team behind you the whole time to help ride for you.
Yeah, I think for the most part with Nemo's sentiments as he got his thoughts in for the winning interview, extremely grateful for his teammates. He really has some extremely well-rounded teammates. Again, we talked about being the complete packages for some of these players. You know, Shuto being the Urian player, Higuchi being the Guile player, and YC Mochi also maining that Dalsim, right? As he got to round it out, he's already considering the future, right? He's already thinking about what steps to take, what preemptive measures for the counter. They're going to be on the away side. Their best bet is to continue doing well, and he's asking for the love and support from everybody that's been tuning in thus far. So as it stands right now, we still have those tweets that go on before the matchups happen. So we do get that read off, just in case you guys didn't know. But I think it's more so for the Japanese audience. But let's take a look at these stats, right?
Take a look at what had occurred. We saw a lot of the anti-airs, especially from the side of Gunfight. We talked about how those are going to be real painful. That's like a big pain point or damage point for the character. Same medium punch, good access point, 100% on the deck. Quite a few on the side of Higuchi, 61%, you know, not bad. Bust outs were 100% on the side of Higuchi. Big fail to tape that Gunfight was not able to get the read on Gunfight, only able to land one to get it done. And the text, though, only one on the side of Higuchi, none on the side of Gunfight. He was holding all those throws. But I really want to point out the fact that Higuchi landing those EXDPs, landing those reversals consistently showed me that he had a very good read on when to have those come out, and Gunfight not sniffing those out. Letting that happen is, I think, a big pain point because you get pushed back like that off the EX, or it could just be the way that we saw Gunfight being able, or sorry, Higuchi able to seal it off those EX flash kicks too as well. So Gunfight in the future will definitely have to look at these reversals and bait them out. Now we see right here the points. Saishun Console leaving with 30, and Team Itsuka only leaving with 10 in the end.
So as that stands, that pretty much bumps up Saishun Console Kumamoto. They were coming in from 8th place, if I'm not mistaken. They had 20 points on deck, bumped up to 50, so that technically places them around 6th place, taking it over Detonation, as well as Team Ikuza. And speaking of, you know, Team Ikuza now ending up at 35. So that puts Detonation down below in 8th place, but at the same time, they all have a couple games to play. You know, they've already cleared out theirs for this week, and the rest of the teams now have an opportunity to catch up. Take a look at the replay. We were talking about this from what you were mentioning earlier, right? There were certain moments where Inaba had gotten pretty fortunate being able to move at the right places. See, technically it's like Shuto, again, he had already committed to the violent knee drop. I think he could have moved forward, but at the same time, you know, it does home in. Inaba is always going to be ready for those punishes. He got, what, like 2-3 in a row? Or like 2-3 overall?
Yeah, I think so. I think about 3. Yeah. Fantastic play. You see, I love that read on the V-Trigger. We've seen that command grab come through quite a bit with it, a lot of commitment. But these V-Trigger situations just were not capitalized enough with Shuto. Yo, talk to me about this match, though. This Nemo versus Storm Kubo.
I would love to. I gotta say, like with the consideration of Alex, I think it didn't do too poorly, to be honest with you. I think there was a lot to be talked about in regards to how he was playing on offense, but I think Nemo also had the right defensive reads. Didn't even want to even try to like entertain that idea. Storm Kubo immediately going into the Dan play. Although I liked seeing Dan, I feel like it's still going to be a struggle playing against Urien. And we've seen some moments where Storm Kubo had gotten a little bit cheeky, right? He had a couple of hits, whether on hit or block, he would just stop and then dash forward, right? One of the biggest things that he had over Nemo was one, animosity from previous records. 2, being pretty ambiguous as to when he wanted to approach on offense. Has been catching Nemo off guard a bunch, but it did end up in this fashion with a W going towards Nemo as we get into our anger match, Higuchi versus Gunfight.
Look at the flash kick right there. The DP not clearing from the side of Gunfight, not able to land all these DPs that he wanted to get out of some of these situations. And even on wake up, his wake up positions that weren't rotated right. High fight. Higuchi was so aggressive.
What?
Look at that in that close range sweep with punish. You see Higuchi just being that distance to just.
I was gonna say.
He's not. No, it's all Higuchi all dang day. Look at that. Deleting the fireball off the table, deleting that zoning that would have been a big pain point, and being able to land his own V-trigger sequences. This mistake, unfortunate. No. It was good that Gunfight was able to stop that from coming through. And we did see some counter hits and more converse off the crouch community kick too as well from Gunfight. It wasn't like it was completely out of his hands, but these V-triggers just weren't enough to seal the deal.
Yeah, so that was the first instance where we actually saw a very ambiguous mix-up for the Tengu Stone. But outside of that, there hasn't really been a big threat from the side of Gunfight in regards to V-trigger. It's just been at this game, this control that Higuchi's had the entire time. Oh
yeah, full control right there. The air to air. What a way! What a disrespectful way to find a punish against the EXDP and close it out. Higuchi moving on for his team and getting those big amount of points. And also, we don't talk about this maybe enough. Preventing points coming through from the other side too as well. You know, they're not leaving with 20 points. The other team only leaving with 10. You know, you want to get as many points as possible so you can not only be in the top leaderboards, but prevent them from having points. And you see all these teams right here, all these great competitors out here for Chevrolet Japan giving you some fantastic action. And we're not even done. This is only one match. We still have more to go today.
Right, yeah, so we did get to see Hiroshima team Ikuza face off in their match against Saishun Seoul Kumamoto. We saw the result of that. We did get to see the debut of, not technically debut, but the first match from Storm Kubo. He had let his teammates play 2 weeks prior. But as it stands right now, there's 8 teams that participate here in Street Fighter League Japan. Only one of them is going to be able to face off the other 2 champions of the league, right? With Street Fighter League Europe, Street Fighter League NA as well, or technically Street Fighter League US. But we're getting there little by little. We have plenty of weeks to go. We do have the schedule up that shows up every so often, but if you want to check it out yourself, Capcom_esports is where you need to go. And Street Fighter 6 has been on everybody's mind. I gotta say also, just in case you guys didn't know and haven't signed up for the closed beta, that's gonna be occurring on October 7th through the 10th, and we do have a slide for that. So I'm getting a little bit over, I'm overextending a little bit, but yeah, as it stands, we do want to remind you guys that all the support, all the love and support from the fans in Japan, you guys got to check out at Capcom_esports. And utilize a social media platform to enter some of these giveaways that they have. Some of these, not raffles, but some of the big giveaways that they have. And they'll showcase your support as well on the stream.
And make sure to do so. Show support and the love to Capcom, to all the players giving you this fantastic action. If you love things that you've seen on the stream, clip it, send it to us. We're going to be having more action in terms of also the Warrior events for Japan, which is the most stacked bracket coming up on the screen. You see here, 10-22. That was the 3rd one to get it done. Next one lining up for the 4th one is the 11th and 27th right there coming through. So make sure y'all check these out. You see all the dates right here. You see all the times too as well. Every time I watch these, I feel like that's like the highest level of the Warrior play that we've seen from Japan, where it's so stacked. It's so hard to tell who's going to win in the end. But it's also hard to tell who's going to win when it comes to Street Fighter League Japan, because I feel like all these teams are so stacked that even when you have the returnees, so last year and the dominant squad, good 8 squad, I should say, coming through, it's hard to even say if they're going to be as dominant as they were previously.
And we had mentioned this previously or a little bit earlier, right? Closed beta tests happening October 7th through October the 10th. It's going to be available on PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series, as well as Steam. And guess what? We got crossplay, baby. Ranked match, casual match. We got the battle hubs as well. Open tournaments, extreme battle. It's going to be all available, right? We got the name center training mode as well. That's going to be utilized very much so by all the lab monsters. Very excited about that. But also excited for the next coming matches, right? We have Good 8 Squad going up against Komufa Detonation. As it stands right now, again, Good 8 Squad sitting at number 2. Komufa pretty much getting knocked down below as of late. But we'll see how that plays off in just a bit. When we return, we'll have more Street Fighter V action for you here at Street Fighter League Japan.
ご安全にな。
お、新入りかな。いい顔に撮れてるじゃないか。改めて担当教官のルークだ。よろしくな。
手加減は期待しないでくれ。
Getting ourselves right back into the fray, let's see what the rest of these teams have on the table to get them some points this week. It's going to be Camouflage Detonation coming up from the away side. Inabashi Zangief leading the pack. The strong-armed pillar punching in his meal ticket with G as well. Nauman getting on the hero's side. That is the side of the brave. He's going to be utilizing Cody and Luke as well. Well, in case that Cody wasn't enough, you also have the babyface trickster, John Takeuchi with that Cody. And the aces return Urio with the Rose, the infamous Rose that is, to round out the rest of the team. Camouflage Detonation, they're going to have quite the challenge ahead of them as they have to face off against the home squad. The good 8 squad, I should be to be specific.
One of the most dominant, if not the most dominant team last season until the finale, was just at the top spot. And you can see why with this top tier team out here. The Hiroshima Predator himself, Gachikun, leading the charge with that fantastic Rashid play. Right behind is the Cosmic Boxer himself, is Pugera, who has been just real dominant on offense and defense. Then we see the next gen Kawano Evo champion, online and offline, coming through. Lastly, this is the Wind Devil himself, Dogura, always able to get that win condition with the dictatorship. This rounds out a fantastic squad of players, of characters, a well-rounded team, and a team that has been very dominant in terms of their win record, overall as their players. Most of their players have won all of their matches except for Kwanu, who's only played once and lost once, but that is, telling the tapes, at least if you're still in that dominant position in terms of, winning all your matches. Maybe not in the dominant spot in terms of points, but still dominant in terms of games. To still see the strength that we had of last season. And now we see Team Detonation going up with their team picks. G at the start with Inabashi Zangief.
Very, actually kind of surprising, I would say. But so far, I think John Takeuchi being in the anchor spot, it does make sense. He's been on a hot streak as well. We talked about some of the W's he's had over at the World Warrior. Him taking first place at his very first one is pretty significant, right? Looking at the past record, though, we had 3 W's in a row in week number 1 from Camouflage Detonation, from John Takeuchi, facing off against Tokido Zurian. By the way, however, switching things around in week number 2 with John Takeuchi, whole different story. He had to play off against Fudo. That went down to the wire. It was actually 2-3 in favor of Fudo. But I will say, the amount of W's he's had thus far this early in the season shows great progression of how he is as a player and is, I guess, the way he's been piloting Cody. On top of having a very strong character like Cody, receiving all the generous buffs that he received this season.
Be able to pilot that character well. Inabashi Zangief, though, saying that Gachikun's defense is really good defense, and I think part of that comes from the fact that Gachikun's a very technical Rashid player. On top of just being an all-around great package, he has these defensive tactics to the deck. We saw that when he fought Fudo in the TPT last year, where he had lost and then found a way against Poison. He said, I'm going to do more V reversals to get the side switch, things like that. So he's always going to have defense to the deck. He's always going to have a way to fight us to get G, and even more so this season, you have V shift, the V break to kind of get away from the mixes that play that G wants to do. That means those mixes are going to be a little bit less deadly, but I do think that the footsie game of G is still very strong. If you hit him with the light and EX, EX bar, that's still corner carry. That's still damage.
Yeah, I feel like there's a difference, though, in regards to, thinking about Rashid versus Poison, right? Anytime, a hard rate comes out, I think V-Reversal is going to be the play. You are able to get out after the first hit. But I don't know how that's going to be able to apply against someone like G. I feel like there's going to be I think there's got to be, a couple of option selects that G can utilize while in V-Trigger to kind of stop that, stop Rashid from getting away scot-free out of the corner, or even just on the other side with V-Reversal. I will say V-Shift might be the play here. In regards to defense, maybe mid-screen, not in the corner though. You're definitely gonna get blown up sky high if you're in the corner doing that with G, or doing that against G.
Gachikun says he's been working on tactics to beat Inabashi Zangief, so I'm curious to see what all those other defensive tactics besides just using V shift. Well, how about his anti-tires? How's he gonna deal with V trigger when G gets that pop? We've seen Inabashi, as most Gs do, spin that bar for the corner carry for V trigger. It's usually now, instead of just finding the operator for as a finisher, it's I'm going to put you in the corner to act that strike throw mix with the command grab every so often with it. So curious to see what he has been calculating to defeat this player. I'm also curious to see what Itabashi Zangief is going to do in these matches, because he is on a losing streak right now. He's lost both of his matches. We saw him lose against Bonchan, and he lost against Daigo. It's funny enough, he lost to Daigo's defensive habits. Wake up, walk up, throw, flash kick at the right distance to deal with the V-trigger fireball. We've seen Daigo utilize those defensive tactics to stay away from the V-trigger. It was close. Despite the score being what it was very close. So, you know, if you do have good defense, you know, Itabashi does get opened up. However, I feel like Itabashi had looked at those matches and been like, I have to make this tighter. I have to make my game plan tighter, because they're finding ways out of it.
Yeah, we're gonna see how these two pretty much play off against each other. I think it's there's one thing to talk about in remarks to Gachikun's defense, but I will say Itabashi's offense can be a whole different story. I think he's been like the mix master. He's been in the struggle for so long, right? Putting himself in pretty much the biggest mech you can handle, and that's the grappler archetype. That is like the Zangief archetype specifically. Any version of Zangief he's definitely going to play, but as it stands right now, it's going to be G that's going to be in the fray. I think, you know, his G over time has been very, very polished. It hasn't been as reliant on any sort of like big reads into command grab, but there's something very, very unique about Itabashi Zangief, and I think his intuition is stronger than most. Like, he knows how to instill fear so well so that he sets himself, or sets the opponent up for those command grabs a lot more consistently than others.
That's the mark of a very strong grappler player right there. When that's your opus minimum in the first place, and you have a better way of just reading the opponent, putting them in these situations, controlling them to get the win, Itabashi Zangief is definitely a strong player. And you pointed out like how he's polished his G. I remember the G from months ago, from way long ago, where he was like playing that character as a side character a little bit more, then started maining it. It was definitely not as strong as it is now. Now you see something that is able to fight with the top level players.
Making, man.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, as it stands right now, we're gonna see years of training pay off here, specifically in this matchup. The Skullomania outfit, a classic. It's like a mix of like Shadow Geist and Skullomania, because Shadow Geist is also pretty tall. It just so happens to be in the Skullomania outfit.
Push the fits. Right. Heavy kick. Trying to catch him from coming in. You don't receive what's put in the corner as much as possible.
Significant punish from the side of Edozan, being within range for that roundhouse. It is -4, so nice easy play from the side. Man, I gotta say, we talked about this earlier, being able to spot out some of those key moments to get the big openings, right? It's like threading the needle. He's got the eye for the projectiles, but speaking of which, oh, that could have been huge for Edozan.
Yeah, no crouch fierce to anti right there. Edozan does have him in the corner. He plays perfectly. Nice shuffle. This is how it starts. Back fist V skill. The throw. The X-Low, of course, use the activation. This defense. It's all offense from Edozan as he takes the first win, back throw to seal it.
And that was the first time I've actually seen him choose an alternative that was like pretty risk averse, right? He had intentionally delayed to make it look like he was buffering for command grab, but instead of V skill was the option. And surprisingly enough, you know, Gachikun actually stayed there. He just sat there and blocked it. So I'm really impressed from both sides, being able to call each other out like that.
He's not playing, or is looking real good today, but here we go. Off the EX and the V, or the equal spike to him in the corner for some Oki. Try to press the advantage as much as possible. He is Gachikun. But sorry, you see that fierce right there, stopping the medium kick and the crouch medium kick every so often. And the stop sign heavy kick. Oh, that's going to be a punish. Crouch fierce, EX. Going for Oki, we're going for damage. Oki this time. Weights and baits, yeah, can't do that this season. Even more so, slower DP, absolutely looking free right here. Edozan taking that first win.
And a very convincing one at that. I think there were just multiple instances where he called out Gachikun on his defense. But overall, I think just the selection of buttons against Gachikun were a lot better. And also keeping it very dangerous to like not going for the command grab. Like that's got to be like weighing on Gachikun's mind. We had literally kind of prefaced the matchup like this earlier, where Inabashi would kind of set the precedence of having that intimidating aura, that intimidating threat of the command grab more often than not. Like that is his trademark, but this is like a whole different story, and I think it's catching even Gachikun off guard significantly.
Even before that even happens, you see him like stopping Gachikun's approach. The dashes are getting checked, even preemptively with heavy kick. He's got a buffer with the lights. He's being great on his whip punch. We saw him whip punch, crouching, meeting kick with fierce at the right range. He's spacing himself out perfectly. So even these early game instances, he's looking really strong. Like this is looking difficult, and Gachikun not even able to act the game plan to put him in the corner and put them in the blender that Rashid wants to do.
And we'll see game number 2 between Gachikun and Inabashi. It's do or die time for Gachikun. But I will say again, Great Squad has done a fantastic job. You had mentioned it earlier, pretty much on a winning streak. But now, as it stands, Edozan is looking to shut that out right now. Starting things off with a W would be very important for the morale of the team. Ooh, this is huge.
Drop saws him in the corner. Faces the fireball very well. Yeah, knowing this is going to be an activation, and here it is off the crouch fierce. The follow-up side switch with the DP. I like that from Gachikun. Puts him in the corner and knock that pressure, forcing him to either have to use V-reversal, but oh, never mind. Can't fight out of the corner. That crouch fierce.
The activation route, plus frame. He was looking for escape options, but still got the command grab. He's going to go corner to corner. I don't even know if he's going to kill yet. One more touch.
What attack? The overhead from downtown. Wipes his boots up on his face, puts him in his place. Edozan. That minute back walk, just for that perfect spacing. You can see all that training paying off in the interruption right there. Edozan is on a tear.
Edozan also, he was also pretty surprised he got the overhead. If you saw his reaction. He had praised Gachikun earlier for his defense. But still, you gotta try it out. You gotta try out the overheads to see if it would work.
Mixer gets a crush also. Let's get the pick him off the hits, but he's still off in the corner. Edozan still defending pretty decently. He has activation. Nice neutral jump before the activation. He knew that heavy kick was gonna come through. That's so smart. And the corner carry coast to coast. Make this man give up the ghost.
Already. Oh, that's huge! Oh my god, he actually baited Gachikun to running face first into the V skill. That was actually pretty godlike.
Wow, Edozan.
I couldn't tell if that was I usually listen to the audio cues to see whether or not if it was like V skill or jump from the side of Rashid. I think that might have just been like a normal jump because he was opting to get out of the corner or like meet air to air. So I'd imagine if he sees G going airborne, that would just have to be like a normal jump trying to chase.
And Edozan talking about the defense of Gachikun, but we gotta talk about Edozan's defense was fantastic. Blocking these sequences out, you don't have a 3-frame, you don't have a DP, and you don't want to spend that V bar for V reversal or V shift, especially not when V shift him in the corner. But the fact that he kept onto his bar to enact the comeback, right? The fact that he blocked these sequences out from Rashid is no easy feat when there's barely a time to press, and looking out for these activations, looking out for what the tendencies that you have pointed out before of this player. What he'll do is he'll look out for the tendencies and enact that pressure. We saw him neutral jump the heavy kick activation from Gachikun, called it out, got his win, put him in a good position. Edozan, you got to give big credit to his defense and how he spaced himself out that entire match. And now we see the anti-airs right here on the side of both players. Obviously, the workup reversal not working out on the side of Rashid. Some anti-airs, actually 2 anti-airs on the side of Gachikun, not bad. But when it comes to the wake-up DP decision, it's slower this season, so that just allows G to keep the pressure going and flowing. You really don't have to worry about the ESTP that was already kind of slow previously. Now, not even a real reversal.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a problem, but I feel like there's a lot more to be said in regards to how Gachikun plays defense without it. But as it stands right now, the defense kind of in shambles. Inobashi Zangief getting the first 10 points 2 games straight, and I gotta say, man, he definitely broke some ankles. Like, he caught him. Let's take a look at how Inobashi had gotten his W's. Right in the first game, he had kind of faked out using that V skill to kind of bait out Gachikun. It didn't lead to that hit, but he was able to like follow up afterwards, right, with like a normal. But the overhead was also a big deal. The neutral jump V skill to bait some sort of reaction out was a pretty big deal. It's been very deliberate as to when he wants to utilize some of these actions, and it's worked perfectly. It's like using the player's intuition against them, or intuition and reaction against them.
And putting them in uncomfortable positions where they're trying to throw up like volume and trying to get their activation, right? We saw that Gachikun got called out multiple times on his activation, and these early round starts are really good for Edozan, just set the pace for everything. So now the next match, Nauman coming up, he says he'll continue to win, but however, Pugera is looking to face off against him with the Balrog, and we've seen Pugera work very well up against Dogura. Had that ridiculous instant overhead against the V-shift. Was going to call that out either way, but it just happened to be the V-shift that he got against Dogura. That was his only match so far. I'm sorry, not Dogura. It was Inaba. But he was able to break down the great defense of Inaba and have his own great defense to avoid that character. So Pugera only having one match, but having one win, still very significant. And that was the anchor position, looking to take 10 points here for his team on the board. Nauman only getting a win against Swarmeshi, but losing to Akira, so would like to have more in store. And again, saying that he wants to win. He wants to continue to win. He wants to keep that streak going that he finally has on his hands.
Yeah, Nauman wasn't able to utilize. I mean, to be fair, I think there was, in that moment against Akira, I don't recall it being like a full-on shutout. He was playing pretty quickly. That is, Akira was. But even in week number 1, we saw Nauman chase down Torimeshi's Dalsim, did get that 2-1. He does have what it takes. Talking about the matchup specifically, Balrog versus Luke, I think Luke does just fine, blatantly. I think there's a lot of tools that he has to stop Balrog from doing whatever it is he wants to do, whether it's like mid-screen or even trying to like maybe V-skill one his way through or even tap. But funny thing is, I think what's super interesting about Pugera is that he opts to go for V-skill 2 more often than not. He does, no matter what the matchup is. I don't know if that's still going to be the case today, but as it stands right now, even if the fireball character is there, he doesn't even need it.
He's still maneuvering in the neutral without that. You know, he does have tap, but this is tendency to just walk and block and just walk people down. You do have to be careful though, as Balrog, if you miss space any of the -4 dash punches, that's an easy punch for a character like Luke. That's target combo or, you know, into light knuckle. So you don't want to have them give them access to that damage. Pugera himself says, this time during practice, they've been hard on me. If I win, my teammates will treat me to some juice, so he'll do his best. I wonder what juice he's looking for. We're looking for apple, for orange juice, whatever it is. He's gonna be trying his hardest to get that juice.
Juice sounds really good right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think a nice tall glass of orange juice. I think that'd be going great with some breakfast. We're thinking about the future, but let's talk about the present, right? Nauman with that Luke, we've seen his overall record, right? Getting the W, he got his 10 points week number 1. Week number 2 wasn't the same case, right? So thus far right now for Detonation, he's got himself 10 points, but it's just something to think about. Again, Capcom Fighters Detonation starting things off strong here, getting the W with their captain Inobashi Zangief. But as it stands right now, before they even got into it, they were 6th place with 30 points. Still pretty significant.
That happens soon. I feel like, I wonder what Pugera's... Actually, I should say, well, I wonder what Nauman's game plan is going to be against someone like Pugera. We've seen Pugera progress as a player. His offense has always been really good, but his defense, though, we saw, especially last week, fighting Inaba, has been spectacular. Like, just having his defensive tendencies to backdash, that's going to be harder to deal with when you're fighting a character like Luke that has that long-range medium, a standing medium punch. However, his defensive tendencies overall, and being able to route that into offense, into back out of the corner, things like that. I'm curious to see how this is going to operate against a player like Nauman, the Evo Japan champion that is Nauman. God put a little respect on my man's name.
Yeah, I think let's talk about the matchup a little bit then. I think there's a lot to be said in regards to Luke's neutral. I think there's a lot to be said in regards to Luke's Sandblaster. What I want to know is what Pugera, if Pugera has the reaction speed to kind of like go like blow through it either with like a tap or even like a V skill 1. Because if you do manage to catch a Sandblaster, the recovery is significant enough for you to get that punish. And we're gonna see. It is going to be V skill 1. Oh boy. Sorry. You know, I might have misspoken a couple of times. I think I meant to say V skill 2 is usually what Pugera goes for, but it did get nerfed, so it makes sense to see him go with V skill 1. But maybe I'm tripping. I might be tripping. I might have trigger and skill mixed up. Okay, it is V skill 1 as well as trigger 1. Very interesting. Oh, and we got suppressor as well as V skill 2 for the side of Nauman for Luke.
See, a lot of Luke players going for that option nowadays, you know, having that EX bar at the back just to make things plus, continue that pressure on where you have to worry about more things on defense. This might help break down the wall of Pugera. Oh, in the corner you go, the walk-up throw. Heavy kick meaty, yes sir, the tray, he'll take that. Yes, Pugera caught up in the corner.
There it is. That's the suppressor. Even from that far, catching Pugera pressing a button.
They're looking for an way to activate without EX bar, a little bit less dangerous to deal with.
It's so dominant right now from Nauman. Up until this point, watch out for the mix. KKB's coming. Oh my god, he was actually too shy.
Outside the distance with not only the dash push, but that sequence there as well. One touch, and the closing for this character is real easy when it comes to Luke with the jab. Either that or the fireballs would have done the dirty. Nauman with the first one.
Oh. The big interruption, that was actually a giant buffer from the side of Pugera. And now we get the big, even bigger opening from the side of Nauman. It's been pretty much an even exchange up until this point.
And that V-skill for that extension, the corner carry. They'll give a little bit of V-bar. Rush punch at that distance. Yeah, better space up in this place. But here's the back throw from Nauman. Got like that fantastic corner punch this character has. You're worried about medium punch. You're worried about heavy kick. That's why these dash-ins come through. Suppressor, no cancel in the EX. Oh, he's so ready. He's so ready. Pugera.
That was super medium kick? This guy's something else.
Confident round start with the walk-in after the anti-air.
Oh, you see Nauman testing the waters a little bit. The low forward does get traded off. Not too bad if the Pugera could have been a lot worse. Oh, but it still gets the hit. Yeah, Nauman actually sticking to his guns. That was a very delayed crouching medium punch. Sandblaster, uppercut, the amount of damage. Oh, here comes that stun. He tried to bait out a throw with a suppressor, and neutral jump was the answer from Pugera. But now we're gonna see maybe an activation later on. There's the activation that he needed, or at least the meter he needs for activation was there.
Now off the table. Fierce can still find the finish. If he gets like another Fierce, maybe in the super, should seal it. Hunting, looking for it. Looking to set up shop with that button, but you're about to drop because he knew that was going to come through. Nauman at that distance, now changing up the space and place it where he puts himself so he can find these whip punches against his character, making it real hard for Pugera to even get his activation, or I'm sorry, super damage on.
Right. Super impressive thus far for Nauman. Also willing to play that kind of like mid-range game against the counter pokes that Pugera has presented, but also changing up the timing to force some of these errors against Pugera has been super impressive. From I think it was round 1 of game 1. No, actually round 2 of game 1.
You feel like Pugera needs to be careful about how he enters. Oh there we go, well spaced with that upper. That was like the tip to do it.
Oh.
These traps are getting set up from Pugera. Dash in. It's a three-piece upper. Counter hit. Alright, combo. One more hit will do it. Oh, of course, a jump back jab.
That's a classic. That's actually a classic. The hitbox is a lot further than like it should be. I feel like it's got so many people off guard.
It's really good. We saw it catch the V-chip last week, so it's a good button. Pugera able to put one on the board here. Trying to give up the game. Dash punch, 2-4 out. Looked like, well, actually had a jab, but just missed time.
And still spacing with the low forwards. Sorry, the low medium kicks from the side of Nauman. No jump, not clear for takeoff yet again, being covered by Pugera. And the interruption there, yeah, checking the forward movement against Nauman, but still, I was gonna say something of it from the side of Nauman after that one jump in. Huge.
Interruption with the fireball. Makes the bar medium at that distance. What a button. What a character. This is going to fall with the fireball. Plus, Oda, you thought you could tech? No go. Nauman on set point.
And with the meter advantage, a slight meter advantage at that. Oh, that was actually just about in Nauman's favor, slightly. You had the full anti-air with a standing media punch from the side of Bog, but it was a hammer fist from the side of Luke, and now he's going to be fishing for low forwards yet again. That big opener could lead to so much, right? It could lead to damage as well as corner carry, but still the anti-airs are there from Pugera. Tech. No corner positioning for you. Oh, he caught him pressing hella buttons.
Might be hella dead. Light, one more touch. We'll seal it. He's got the X-bar to threaten at any point. In the bushes. Don't whiff a dang button. Ooh, even neutral jumping is difficult. Sweep. Now it's time for the comeback. If not, get it like that. It's got V-trigger. The shots, the V-trigger. I don't think Pugera's afraid, not at all.
He smelled blood in the water a while ago, to be quite honest with you. There's a lot of intuition from the side of Pugera and the way he was moving. Also, he did leave himself at plus frames and spent meter for it, but at the same time, you know, there are certain people that like to press after plus frames, man. Those people do exist.
They do exist. Even in these tournaments.
I'm one of them.
You saw earlier today. You gotta test the water sometimes. You can't always be the same on defense. However, sometimes you might get blown up for it. Pugera, you mentioned the movement of this, of how he's scoot stepping around. That's making it hard for these crushing when he kicks to land. And it's also making Nauman uncomfortable. You see Nauman getting real predictive with the jump ins. He's starting to do more neutral jumps. And Pugera's like, that's fine. If I space myself out perfectly, that's an easy amount of access to damage for upper as an anti-air right there. And then sometimes you see some of the jump ins, he's willing to just block it out or take a medium punch. He is doing really good on defense and not getting opened up by this character. Like, he's just, as you said, just reading the rhythm so well of the other player.
We're going to see how far that carries him, right? Going into the next match. All tied up here. One game apiece. One from the side of Pugera, other side of Nauman. Who's going to get these 10 points? Ever so crucial, I think a lot more for Combo Fire Detonation, considering where they were at in the standings prior to this matchup starting. Grenade Squad, pretty much in a good spot overall.
Oh, yeah. Nauman switching to his old Laura, his old Bay coming out today. And this is a good matchup. I mean, we've seen this before with Idom, how he gets into the Balrog players overseas.
Well, you know, we've seen the demo, I feel like. You know, we've had this conversation also a good amount of times where Japan had not considered Laura to be really, like, a good character. That was also pretty wild.
Wow, after how much damage Idom has done. And Nauman no soft for this character either. Nice, distance himself out. He's got the V-skill 2 popped up for this matchup. We don't need the V-skill 1 to get through the fireballs. Oh, it won't help.
Ooh, sunset wheel. Happens afterwards. Frames checking down below as well, checking the movement primarily.
I'm liking. No anti right there. Must be real careful about these jumping situations because she does have V-bar at the bottom. The party starter. That might be the finisher. And the counter hit does. It gets a follow-up light right after. Final game, final round, even after the switch.
Oh, firing on all cylinders from both ends. Because they both know what's on the line. Do or die time. 1 round apiece, 1 game apiece. Walking him down. Nauman actually pretty patient, but still. Oh, God. Pugera. Please.
That same sequence once again. Catches low, not blocking the toes. Done built up, and Nauman getting antsy. But the fireball just to have something on the deck to push him to the corner. But that corner pressure has to be way better. But here's the fierce push right back to mid-screen with the crush.
We're going to see an activation. Trigger. Potentially. Is it party time yet? It is.
Yes. My turn to party. Off that low.
Out of there. What a read from Pugera.
Yeah. Oh. What surprise.
That's how you feel today? That was a solid read. That was actually a solid read. 10 points from the side of Good 8 squad. Nauman, he was looking pretty good up until this point, man. At the Laura play, he got me by surprise.
It's been a bit since we've seen that character come from him, and we've seen him focus on obviously the Sakura. We saw him even pull out Pin previously in Super League Japan, and now it's been the Luke. This Laura pick just wasn't it. The idea is there. Laura does well against Raw. We've seen that time and time again. I'm sorry, Brian, to pull that up for you, but we've seen that happen as a good matchup. But the win condition for Laura, the V-trigger situation, just not enough. We saw him in that distance, wait for that fireball to dissipate. EX dash straight, got the win. That was well played from Pugera, staying away from any of the mixes at play. And they were kind of lacking in the first place. It felt like Nauman still kind of rusty with that character. I really wonder what could have happened if, you know, he could have went with that character. But obviously, as it stands, it's, you know, they aren't on the side to pick their character first, so he couldn't have known that Pugera was going to come up. Have the stats on the board again. Anti-airs at the top right there, quite a bit. On the side of Pugera, we saw the medium punch come through the upper. Some of them missing, but it's only being an access point for the other character to come through. But for the most part, I like the Pugera, even though like 58% may not seem like a lot. It's quite a bit to not let a character like Laura get in, or even Luke, you know, come through. So have that distance to have that well-spaced anti-air was great from Pugera, and that helped seal for his team. 10 on the board.
Yeah. So I was going to say and mention, you know, you were talking about the character selection initially. I think, you know, having that Laura is one thing, but having a Luke is an entirely different thing. I think Luke does just fine against Balrog. And in fact, we saw the W first from the side of Nauman, right? Nauman actually took it down the first game over Pugera. So I think him coming out the gate with Laura wouldn't have been like, I don't think it would have been an ideal situation, right? I think Luke overall is going to be like the big terrorizer of the group. And I think if you don't even know who's coming up because you're going to be on the away side, I think putting your chips on Luke is going to be just fine.
Yeah. In reverse, like you couldn't have known, but now we know that Dogura is coming up on the deck to fight. Dogura, one of the strongest players that, you know, we've seen in the league previously, just a strong competitor, probably the strongest Bison in Japan, and one of the most hotly contested players to be picked up in the league when they had their selection process at the very end to get that last player. Dogura was wanted by dang near everybody besides maybe just like a couple teams. I think it was only 2 teams that were gunning for Torimeshi, and the rest were going for Dogura. They're saying how strong that he is with this Bison pick.
And as it stands right now, I got to mention it. Very important to iterate this, but this sets us up pretty well for a 30-point ball game. I don't think, you know, Good 8 squad. Or sorry, I don't know if, you know, if Good 8 squad really needs it. I think they have a very significant lead, but I will say, you know, get all the points that you can, because you never know. You never know towards playoff time who's gonna try to like snipe out points from you, or who's gonna stop you from getting even more points down the line. But I think, you know, the former is gonna happen more so than the latter, because Good 8 squad is just so powerful, right? You have such an all-star lineup of Gachikun, Pugera, Dogura, Kawano as well, who's not even playing. Like, imagine that. Like, the Evo champ is taking a seat. I don't know. I'm not against the decision, by the way. I just think it's always fascinating that the fact that you could also have some of your strongest players as the reserve because they're just as strong in this particular matchup. Like it's so phenomenal.
Well-rounded team, and like that's so important. It's not only have well-rounded players, but well-rounded team of like matchups to be ready for everything. And speaking of matchups, I think that Bison does very well against Cody. Despite the big buffs that have happened to Cody, he's able to stop the access points of the fireballs. He does well in the neutral against Cody. The knife is kind of I don't want to say like it's kind of like a tide turner, but it can help. But I don't think it's enough to make that matchup bad for Cody. And to wait for V-Trigger, I think is maybe not the best thing if that's how the matchup has to go for Cody to get that victory. So Bison gonna do just fine out here. Let's see. This is John T. He's something different with it. Already in that top side, already won 1 CPT. Oh my God, he is looking slick with that fit.
Yeah, no, I think what I was exclaiming was the fact that he opts to go V-Trigger 2 in this particular matchup rather than the knife.
See how that works out. I'm very curious.
Dogura, on the other hand, pretty standard, right? He's using V-Skill 1 to get rid of the fireball if need be, and then V-Trigger 2 to plant the bomb.
Yeah, V-Trigger 2 works out. If it happens from Takeuchi, maybe he puts a mix on it. Heavy Ruffian. Between we go for that crouch mini kick though, off the low.
Oh God! The amount of damage and the carry. Ugh.
He knew what he wanted. Immediately held north to not go south and not get gripped up. EX so back in the corner, and that's enough damage to do it. Cody, big swinging out here.
That's a lot of damage. Definitely a lot of damage. Again, John Takeuchi, who's banking off the will of his teammates, right? Idabashi getting that first W, Nauman falling just a little bit short. John Takeuchi still has that confidence, saying, "We would like to win this." He's looking forward to it. The Shadow Axe target combo inside of the Akuma Devil. Dogura now on the offensive. No anti-airs there. Lets John Takeuchi out for free. In fact, takes damage on the way over. He's like, "You can pass go. Here's this 200 damage."
Down the corner with that activation. Command grab is a lot more dangerous to trade. Still, Takeuchi has some call up in the corner. Looking for that activation. Maybe the slide. EX fireball applied. Back throw. There it is. Finally.
Still just playing it patient. Oh, plus frames. Nothing from the side of Dogura.
Spar, to be so careful of an EX at any point. And it's so hard to anti-air, crouch, fierce, reaches a different way, and that was enough damage to do it. The hesitation right there for John Takeuchi to go for an anti-air. That crouch fierce different in V-Trigger. Can't use stand fierce as an anti-air.
Yeah, it's significantly different while you're in trigger. They're like reacquainting them, or reintroducing themselves.
And not falling for that trick. Gold V skill follow or fireball absorption in the medium kick ruffian. No sir, not Dogura.
In hot pursuit. Now John Takeuchi with a couple of crouching medium punches, just trying to make sure that he gets Dogura to sit still. But didn't happen for that long. Although trigger 2 is still a factor for John Takeuchi. Yeah, Dogura has just been defensively a monster, right? Whether it be movement or getting the interruptions and the full combos.
Now using V-shift and the oh no, right kick. Stop him. That defense on the deck, diligence done by Dogura to just stay away from the command grab play. I see the power if you land those hits, those command grabs and things like that. But like if it's not landing, the neutral's looking long.
Yeah, even before then, utilizing V-shift, also some just walking back very carefully as well. Again, Bison has some of like the slowest walk speeds, so you have to utilize any sort of defensive mechanic that you have. That's like first and foremost. Second of all, again, Dogura, ooh, he is the Akuma double for a reason. I gotta say his layered offense is something to kind of be fearful of, because you never know when that command grab is going to be coming out from Bison.
Stacks on so well that just the threat of that can make you flinch. And that's already a ton of damage done by Bison. That's what Bison wants to do, like rotate those options in terms of offense. Like, you think I'm going to command grab, I'm going to open you up. You might hold north, and I might go for a hell attack or whatever. But either way, the defensive play also helping him seal the deal, keep these fantastic leads against a character that damages done extraordinarily done by Cody. We'll see, though, what John Takeuchi has. Still on V-Trigger 2.
Oh, little punishes there from John. Streams afterwards. And you can see Dogura just scheming outside of the mid ranges. Yeah, big stop on the approach against John.
Patient play. Fierce. Oh, that's going to be a punish. Like Rough King gets the Oki. Now the counter hit off that medium kick. I'd like to see more of that button. That's such a fantastic button, a good opener.
Stand jabs to double check a little bit.
Slide with the crush applied. Backdash. What a read here from Takeuchi. He's got to finish this. Not going to happen.
Oh, and he does so.
Comes through.
Yeah, that was so well played from the side of Dogura. Just pinpointing the exact location against John Takeuchi. But right now, Zangaku plus frames. Not a single button press, man. He knows when he's plus and he knows when he's minus, as every pro should. He's just been on point on defense.
When he chooses to swing, seems so different, but that mistake put him right in the corner. He's gonna follow, but still has him exactly where he wants him. Until again, when he chooses to press out that fierce has been so beneficial for him. Sets up shop for EX, scissor kick, and things like that. Other buttons. Pressing the crouching mini kick. It sets up shot for the V trigger. The plus range, he's going to come in, wait for the explosion.
Oh, he was so deliberate too after that swipe. He was waiting for any button press.
What a buffer into the EX. Had the charge in the back throw.
Oh my god, the neutral jump! Oh, sorry, that was actually back jump. Either way, it was a jump to check the movement against Dogura. Oh, I thought you could option select that. I thought you could, but Dogura goes up 2 games.
When he chooses, it feels like he's almost psychic. How he's been playing has been really wow. Like I'm baffled because it's like when he chooses to press and when he chooses to use stand fierce and things like that, obviously setting up shot, making John Takeuchi go antsy, but he's not afraid of like EX Zong, like he's staying outside the right distances. But even when he's in, it doesn't feel like he's too fearful of the buttons of Cody. It feels like he just has the right timing. He has the right answers, and right now he's right on game point.
I think you might be right. I don't know what it is about Dogura and the Cody matchup as well. Maybe he doesn't know too much about it, but I feel like that's not even the case, as he was maneuvering so well against John Takeuchi. So I don't think that's the case at all.
Counter hit, no bad sand. The throw lands. Scissor kick, well spaced. EX this time. Keep the stuff as much as possible. And now he's waiting for these back jumps and neutral jumps.
It's so scary. It's so scary. This lockdown from Dogura in the corner. There it is. Standing medium kick again. Doesn't need to overextend anything. Doesn't need to be overzealous. Final fight combo. Goes for the activation instead of the side switch. I see.
Dogura, the lighter normals right here. Now looking out for that B skill.
Oh my god, this is starting something great. Command grab. And he knew it. Absolutely knew it. Looking at match point, Dogura is trying to clear it out 3-0 against John Takeuchi. Can he do it? Starting off strong. That's a big fierce. Oh my god, that's a meaty jab to follow it up afterwards for a full confirm into the combo. Now it's going to be plus frames afterwards. The roundhouse.
What?
This should be a lot of damage. This is going to be a lot of damage no matter what.
Scissor kick to throw. Gonna be a perfect KO. One more touch. EX song. Good defense. Here's the activation. And a fadeaway and play the medium kick to take it. Dogura. 3-0. John Takeuchi with some of the best defense I have seen from this character.
Yeah, I agree. I think you might be right. I think wholeheartedly you might be right. I think Dogura is indeed psychic. Not gonna lie, this man's crazy, like in a good way. He's had phenomenal call-outs on defense against John Takeuchi. 3 games straight, this guy Dogura. He called him out multiple times. We're probably gonna see it on the replay, but as it stands right now, Dogura is on a hot streak, ladies and gentlemen. In all the games that he's played thus far, he's only lost 1 game against Crusher's Birdie. Is that true? That's crazy. Yeah, it is true. Wow. Super impressive. I'm thoroughly impressed with his progression overall.
Yeah, I mean, now we see why he was so hotly contested, and just as we've mentioned so many times, just able to call all these buttons and not be afraid of EX Song, not be afraid of seeing a medium punch or the great buttons that Cody has that lead to so much damage or Oki, things like that. Not being afraid of the V-trigger situations at all. I'm surprised we didn't see a switch from John Takeuchi, but either way, I don't know if that really mattered, to be honest. I don't think that would have mattered at all. I think the great play overall from Dogura would have still happened. He would have found those fierces somehow, some way.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I think there was a couple of times too where John Takeuchi had gotten really antsy, I think, in just the final game overall. I think there was a couple of moments where he had picked the wrong decisions on defense. One of the things that Dogura started off with was swiping away with fierce, buffering afterwards. Then he got an Oki situation where he did meaty stand jab into stand medium punch, and that was just John Takeuchi choosing movement. He chose movement. Maybe it was probably like a jump, but it caught him as the meaty choice, and it was just not, it wasn't the right calls at that point in time. But as it stands right now, we are getting our post-game interview with our winners. It's Good 8 squad with 30 points thus far. I think that skyrockets them to 80. But just to kind of rehash a little bit, Dogura, he knew John was coming. He absolutely felt it in his bones that he was going to go against Cody, and that's for sure. Again, adds to that psychic that attribute he has, right? We were talking about it earlier. We do think he has a little bit of forms of ESP. Might be some of that psycho power, but either way, he's using it for the good of his teammates right now.
Absolutely, you know, I feel like we kind of knew that John Takeuchi would always, you know, be in that anchor position. I think that he's been such a strong competitor overall that it makes sense to put him as an anchor spot for the most part. But just Dogura being so ready for that matchup, so ready for John Takeuchi's tendencies, and to read what John Takeuchi was doing. You talk about, like, you know, reading the defensive habits of John Takeuchi. We saw him, you know, read the jump backs. He got caught with one, and he waited for John Takeuchi to get done jumping up in the air. And Pugera says Nauman using Laurel, he was aware that was going to happen. So the first game was crucial. He had to win it, but lost. Tough playing against Laura. As finally Japan understands the pain that we go through fighting that character.
I am not struggling against that character. I'm struggling against Idom. That is for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, that might be different.
Yeah, we do get word from Evo Champ. He gets watched from the sidelines. And he keeps it pretty straightforward, right? He considered the players that had performed, and he thinks they all played well. Nothing really extra to add on to that except for thank you. And Kawano does take a little bit of credit for himself. He does exclaim that he came up with the roster for this week's battles. Very well done.
All right. See, even when you're on the stands, you still have, you know, ways to contribute for your team. You know, still have ways to give them some tips and things like that. Like, okay, this is going to be the order. So that strategy comes from, even if you're not putting your hands on the sticks at all, you still have ways to help to fight the other team and things like that. You still have ways to strategize and give them tips and stuff like that, or even encouragement. And so, again, this is really important for this team stuff. It's never about one person getting it all done, especially with the matchups, the players and things like that. You can have the best character in the world and best player in the world. You will still lose. You still might lose. That's the way fighting games go. So in these team compositions, you can't get it done literally, but you have to rely upon your team. So having plans and things like that, being able to cheer your team, that's all going to be super important. I'm glad that Kawano understands that. Gachikun says, Kawano, when he found out he was reserved, he said, yay. This time he lost, but others won. He reassured that his team is a good team.
Yeah, I think just looking into it with their ambitions, pretty much stemming from last year, right? They had a really crushing blow to them in the grand finals. So they've had these kind of moments in the big seat where they actually had the W. I still remember to this day where Kawano had pretty much chosen to go Vega, and I mean Claw, instead of Colleen. We were both there for that. It was just so heartbreaking. So they've had this kind of feeling just harboring inside. They have to get as big of a lead as possible. But as it stands right now, I had misspoken earlier in regards to the points. Good 8 squad should technically be at 120, taking first place now over Nagoya Oja Body Star / Mildom. But their game differential is different because of the fact that they've had one game. This is day number 2 of week 3. There's still going to be plenty more games to play for the rest of the squads, so we'll see how it plays out. You can see the stats right here. The anti-airs, 1 out of 9 from the side of Dogura, 2 out of 5 in regards to the grab throw differential. Not too bad at all.
But especially for the points right there, this starts the possible domination. Now they're in the top spot. This is not what we saw previously in the last season. Maybe, I'm not sure if it was a little bit earlier or not in the season. Will this be the same way where a good 8 squad just starts to dominate? It starts to be in the top spot where they keep their lead? Maybe not. I think the teams are even more stacked than they were before. But it's either way, happy for them to be in that top spot right now, even early when I was making points as possible. And again, deny the other team of having those points too as well. Let's go through the matches to start with. This is the one right here where Edozan was just playing ridiculously on defense and on offense, catching some of these activations, knowing that the V-bar was stocked up and knowing what Gachikun wanted to do. And look at that, right at that right distance to get that medium and the low. Oh my gosh. Edozan just on a tear with this character after putting in years and years, months and months after work. I feel like this year was definitely the year, his shining year with the G. As you can see right here, the corner carry with this character. It's not really about the damage, but there's a lot still in V-Trigger. It's about that positioning that he puts you in. Downtown, the overhead.
Yeah, we're talking about the expose here. We're talking about the multiple times where Itabashi Zangief had exposed Gachikun's defense, blew the covert ops, but right here. Yep. Oh, so it wasn't a jump at all. I actually had I thought he had jumped. That was actually in anticipation for the roundhouse activation. That was super sick from the side of Itabashi. I genuinely thought he jumped. I must have blinked, and I'm just like, oh, whoa, that's crazy. But going into it right now, Pugera, we talked about his matchup versus Nauman. It could have gone either way. We see Nauman pretty much getting the first game, but other than that, there were some very, very big shining moments for the young man.
I like that Pugera was just using that fierce, well-spaced, set up shot for the dash punch. And this is the Laura pick. If things were different, if this is an alternate universe where the teams, the homes would be switched, that'll have to happen later. But right now, the Laura pick was not the one to do it. Pugera able to be defensive, though. This is the real tail of the tape. Being able to V-shift to be defensive. Yes, the stun got done, but Pugera able to just avoid the mixes. We didn't really see much of the V-trigger besides that one match. We didn't really see much of that happen. And this, as soon as it's off the table, waits, crouch fierce, too far out, and goes for the punish.
And this is where we see the sheer domination of someone like Dogura against John Takeuchi. And you can see it little by little. You can see the layers of offense already being implemented, trying to condition the young man. But I got to say, the offense was just a little bit too great. But that was just the beginning, right? That was just chapter 1 of the entire story. That was actually pretty awkward, right? We talked about that. You actually were the one that highlighted it. The anti-air just wasn't there in time. John Takeuchi a little reluctant to pick that decision. But again, from Dogura, it's just been nonstop, finding the right places to get some of these fierce confirms. I will say from John Takeuchi, utilizing the tools of Cody pretty well on defense for certain moments, but there's just something about Dogura's offense that was just like the highlight of this match.
It's being able to read, and look at that distance, that crouch feeding kick to catch him with the low, like at that right tip to do it, and how he chased down John Takeuchi in that sequence, the heavy kick. Not going for hell attack, maybe thinking it wouldn't reach, so went for the heavy kick, catching the landing frames. And being able to survive against the threat of EXong, the threat of activation, the strong points of Cody, and just being so dominant in this match. Knowing the desperation was coming through from John Takeuchi. Easy backdash, easy win.
How did he know, man? How did he actually know?
I would have got grabbed.
Like,
that's wild.
Oh, well, we both got ground. It's one thing to use, like, it's one thing to explore your defensive options. Like, you have so many of them, right? But it's another thing to commit to the one that leaves you pretty vulnerable. Like, backdash can leave you pretty vulnerable. But I gotta say, it's still pretty exciting to see the way that Dogura navigated that match, and it's something that was on my mind. I feel like, you know, Cody again being one of the up and coming characters that have been getting a lot of the big time buffs and seeing a lot more game time on the court. So as it stands right now, it wasn't enough to take down Dogura, or at least, you know, secure that matchup. But we've seen what had happened on the home side, getting the advantage. Some of the counter picks happening. 30-10 from both sides. Saishunkan, Seoul, Kumamoto. Also, Good 8 squad getting their W. And I was right. There we go. Good 8 squad now skyrocketing up to 120. Coming in from 90. And then we see the big shift down below, right? Saishunkan, Seoul, Kumamoto hopping from last place up into the number 6 spot. We do see some similar results, though. Just knocking one space over from Detonation and Team Ikusa. So pretty standard overall. The only big consideration now is the rest of the teams for next week.
That's right. We're going to have more play on the way. It's been fantastic all the way through. Good 8 squad in the top spot. Team Oja Body Star is going to have to come through heavy to not let that domination happen. You see the chart right here. This is kind of what we had last year, where we saw the gradual rise and the continuous rise of Good 8 squad. But I do think that with the teams being so different, with the meta being so different, and the players being at their highest level, we're going to get tighter action. It's going to be harder to call who's going to take it in the end overall.
Yeah, really excited to see next week's matches for day one. It's going to be Gyogun versus Saishunkan Seoul Kumamoto, as well as Hiroshima Team Ikusa versus Komufa Detonation on YouTube and Twitch, Capcom Fighters Japan. If you guys want to hear the official English broadcast with myself, as well as Saint Cola and a couple of other special guests, you already know what to do. It's at Capcom Fighters. And if you guys ever want to give us info, tidbits about some of your favorite players that you might have experienced or discovered here while watching SFL Japan, or even the ones that you already knew from way before, hit us up at _Saint Cola, at Vicious FGC. But for the most part, that's going to pretty much wrap up week number 3. That was day number 2. We've seen a slight shift in the balance of points, but at the same time, we have seen the same kind of consistency in regards to the team levels of play. It's been very exciting to see it. You can see even further down with the schedule. I got to say, I'm really excited and looking forward to the rest of it, right, St. Cola?
I'm looking forward to seeing all this great action. It's been super sick with it. We've seen a lot of variety. We've seen some surprise picks with it, maybe some that didn't work out, but this is only getting closer to the finality of this first month. We still have many more days of play to come your way, many more teams. We're going to start at some eventual point, getting these teams to finally get some runbacks like that. But for right now, this is the end. We will see you at this week's end for some more Street Fighter League Japan action. Have a good night.